Okay, let's have a look at some factorising of quadratic trinomials. Quadratic trinomials, a quadratic means that we've got highest power of x will be x squared, and trinomials means there's three terms in it. There's a few different ways that I've seen these being explained how to do this. One I find works for students that I teach. Firstly, I'm going to be looking at the coefficient of the x squared. If that's 1, this will work. And the first few questions will be dealing with the coefficient of x squared being 1. The next thing that I'll do is I'll look at the last term there, the plus 6. I'm going to list down the factors of positive 6. We could have 1 by 6 and we could have 2 by 3. We could also have negative 1 by 6, negative 6, and we could have negative 2 by negative 3. All of those are factors of positive 6. Now what we need to do is to have a look at which combination of those will add up to positive 5, which is the middle term we have there. If we look through those, that one won't work. That adds up to 7. This one here adds up to 5. That's negative 5, and that one's negative 7. So 2 and 3 are going to be the two numbers that we need to deal with. So how x squared plus 5x plus 6 will be factorised, that will be equal to x plus 2 and x plus 3. So the 2 and the 3 are the two factors that multiply together to make the 6, which is the last term, and add together to make the 5. So we'll go through another example. I'm using m instead of x in this case here. It doesn't matter, it all works the same way. So I'm firstly going to check. It's 1m squared. And I'm now going to have a look at negative 14. What are the factors of negative 14? As you do a few of these, you'll actually be able to shorten this process a little bit, do things in your head, but I'm just going to go through the process of listing them all. So we could have negative 1 by 14, or we could have 1 by negative 14, negative 2 by 7, or 2 by negative 7, and that's all there is. I now have to look at which ones are going to add up to negative 5. So negative 1 plus 14 is 13, no good. 1 plus negative 14 is negative 13, that's no good. Negative 2 plus 7 is positive 5, that's no good. So it must be this one, negative 7 plus 2, or 2 plus negative 7 gives you negative 5, so that one there is the one we need to use. So that means that m squared take 5m take 14 will be equal to m plus 2 and m minus 7. So the 2 comes from here and the minus 7 comes from here. Let's look at the next one that we have. So this one here is another example. Firstly, I'm going to check that the coefficient of x squared is 1, which is correct. I'm now going to look at plus 7. What are the factors of positive 7? So we could have 1 times 7. 7's a prime number, so we're only going to be dealing with 1s and 7s. We could also have negative 1 multiplied by negative 7. So they're the two options that we've got. We now need to check which one of those adds up to negative 8, and it's not going to be that one. Negative 1 plus negative 7 is negative 8, which is what we want. So that means that if we're going to be factorising x squared take, that's a pretty dodgy looking 8, isn't it? I'll rub that one out and do that again. Sorry about that. 8x plus 7 will be equal to x minus 1 and x minus 7. Okay. Let's look at the next one. The first thing I'm going to do is to check what the coefficient of our squared term is. In this case we're dealing with p's, and we've got 2p squared. So that's not 1, so the process that we used with the last 3 questions won't work straight away. So what I'm going to do is have a look at the coefficient of the squared term. So in this case it's 2. Will 2 go into the other terms that are there? And in this case it will. So what I'm going to do firstly is to factorise by taking 2 out. So we'll have 2p squared plus 14p, take 36, is equal to 2. Take out the 2 from the p squared, leaves us with there. Positive 14p divided by 2 will give us plus 7p. And this last term will be negative 18. So what you should do is to make sure that you factorise that correctly is you would then multiply everything through, so that 2 by the p squared is 2p squared, which is the first bit. 2 by the 7p is the 14p, and 2 by the negative 8 is negative 36. So all that works out beautifully. What we can now do is take what's inside that bracket and factorise that like we did the previous couple of examples. So I'm going to be looking at the factors of negative 18 that add up to positive 7. So I'll list down the factors of negative 18. We could have 1 by negative 18, or we could have negative 1 by 18. We could have 2 by negative 9, or negative 2 by 9. We could have 3 by negative 6, or negative 3 by 6, and 4 doesn't go into 18, 5 doesn't go into 18, we've already got 6 there. You probably saw, as I was writing those out, which one of those is going to work, but I'll just go through the process. 1 take away 18 is negative 17, it's not positive 7, we are looking for positive 7, so that one's not going to be it. 18 take 1 is 17, that's no good. 2 plus negative 9 is negative 7. They're the right numbers, but it's the wrong direction. So we need to find positive 7. That was no good. So this will be the one we're looking for. 9 take away 2 is 7, which tells us that this will be equal to 2. What we do is leave the 2 out the front, and we just write our 2 brackets. So it's going to be p take away 2. And p plus 9, and that will become the answer for that one. So the negative 2 bracket comes from there, and the plus 9 comes from there. Okay, let's look at the next one. In this question here, we've got a 2x squared at the front. So the first thing I'm going to do is to check, does 2 go into 7? No, it doesn't, so we're going to have to look at an alternative method to do this. So what I'm going to do is look at the first term, which is the 2x squared, and the second term, which is the plus 6. And what we need to do is a little cross multiply thing. So I'm going to take the 2x squared, 2 factors of 2x squared could be 2x and x. So these 2 here will multiply together to make 2x squared. And I also need to look at the plus 6. What are 2 factors that we could have of plus 6? I'll start with 2 and 3. That'll do. So we could have positive 2 and positive 3. And I'll do this little cross multiply thing. So I get the first term here, 2x, and I multiply that by 3. So 2x times 3 will give us 6x. Then we're going to go plus. And then I want to go 2 times x, which is 2x. Started writing the answer down there. So 6x plus 2x, and that equals 8x. We need to then compare that with the middle term, the x term, which we're looking for an answer of 7. So 8x is not 7x, so this one's not going to work. So I'm going to do some trial and error here, try another one. if I go 2x and x, and what we could try and do is to swap them around. So we could try 3 and 2. 2 times 2 is 4x, plus 3 times x is 3x, and that equals 7x. And that seems to be what we're looking for. Okay, so what will be our two brackets in this case here? 2x plus 3 will be one bracket, and the other bracket is going to be x plus 2. And that's the answer to this particular question here. We'll do another couple of those sorts of questions. Okay, this one here, once again, we'll check the 6x squared. Does 6 go into 13? No, it doesn't, so we're going to have to try that little cross multiply thing. There are other ways that you can do it. This is one that I've found successful over the years. So I'm going to look at the 6x squared. Factors that we could have of 6x squared could be 6x and x. Factors of the negative 5 at the end could be negative 1 and 5. So I'm just going to try these for now. We'll do a little cross multiply. So 6x times by 5 is 30x, plus negative 1 by x is negative x. That's going to give us 29x. We're comparing it with the middle term here, 13x. That's no good. So I'm going to try another one. I could try 6x and x, and we can try swapping those numbers around, 5 and negative 1. So 6x times by negative 1 will be negative 6x plus, I flicked to the wrong page. Okay, so that we've got plus 5 times x. So minus 6x plus 5x will be equal to negative x, which is not the 13x that we're looking for. Those numbers don't appear to be working very well. We can go through and swap the negatives over, so we could try multiplying by negative 5 and positive 1, but we're looking for a positive term in the middle, plus 13. So I don't think the negative 5 is going to work. It'll make it two negatives. So I'm going to, instead of doing 6x and x, we'll try 3x and 2x. So 3x times 2x gives us 6x squared. And once again, we'll try our negative 1 and 5 that we did at the top. So 3x times by 5 will give us 15x, plus negative 1 by 2x is negative 2x. So 15x plus negative 2x is 13x. And that is the middle term that we're looking for. So this is correct, which means that these are our two brackets. So the answer to this question is 3x minus 1 and 2x plus 5. Okay, and now we'll get across to the other one. This is, oh, what happened then? The last one that we'll do, and get rid of that little line that I drew before accidentally. Okay, so 8x squared, take 3x, take 5. So firstly I'm going to look at the 8. Does the 8 go into the other terms? No, it doesn't. So we now need to do this cross multiply thing again. So we're looking for factors of 8x squared, and we're also looking for factors of negative 5. So as we multiply them through, 8x squared, we could have 8x and x. For negative 5, we could have negative 5 and 1. Now we'll do a cross multiply. So 8 times 1 is 8x, plus negative 5 times x is negative 5x. So 8x plus negative 5x will give us 3x, comparing it to what we want, we're looking for negative 3x. So this isn't right, but it is the negative of what we're wanting. So I'm going to try swapping the negative sign around. So try again, 8x and x, and we'll try it with positive 5 and negative 1. So if we go 8x times by negative 1, it'll be negative 8x plus 5 times x is 5x, and those two there equal negative 3x, which is our middle term that we're looking for. So that tells us that there's our two brackets. So the answer to this will be 8x plus 5 and x minus 1. And I hope you've found that useful. Just remember you can go back and replay any of that if you need to. Thanks for your viewing.